Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Taisis Dibra Maschel, Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, Hocha Beskufas Mavay Askinan. Let's begin. Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, Rav Yehuda Amarav said, Hocha Beskufas Mavay Askinan. We're talking about the doorstep of a Mavay here. The Gemara asked, and what Achirim said in the Brisa, that Pesach Pasuach Kilufnim. When the door is open, then the doorstep is like the inside. The doorstep is treated like a Rosh Hashanah. And the Gemara asked, we know that the only way to treat the doorstep like a Rosh Hashanah if there's a lechi, a post on the outer edge of it. So the Gemara gave two answers, and the first one is by Rav Yehuda Amarav, that over here we're referring to the doorstep of a mavei, number one. Number two, it's a case where part of the doorstep has a roof over it and part doesn't, or more correctly, a kaira, a beam on top of part of it. And number three, it's the inner part. So that's what Tosfos is going to explain over here. Why does it have to be specifically the doorstep of a mavei? Why does it have to be specifically that only half of it has the beam on it? And why does it have to be specifically that it's over the inner half? Why are these three things required in order for the answer to make sense? So let's see Tosfos now inside. Dafka beskufas mavei pesach pasuach kalufnim. Specifically by the doorstep of a mavei, when the door is open, it's like the inside. It'll only work by a mavei that when the door is open, we will say that since there's a beam over the door, over the doorstep, we're going to say pi tikra yard v'seisim, the edge goes down and closes off. And what that accomplishes is that beneath it now it's a Rosh Hashanah. That will only work by a mavei. And the reason is since the kaira is able and fitting to permit the mavei. One of the ways of making a mavei a place where a person can treat like a Rosh Hashanah and carry there is by placing a beam over the fourth side. So if there is a mavei, a dead-end street, that's closed on three sides, and the fourth side is completely open, so it's also to carry there. One of the ways to be matter, to make permitted to carry the mavei, is by placing a beam over the fourth side, and then we say pi tikra yard v'seisim, the edge goes down and closes off, and now there are four walls surrounding it. So it says Tosfos, because a beam is effective in being matter a mavui, therefore over here we will also say that it goes down and closes off. Now Tosfos is going to address a side question on this, and that is afal pisha mavei zeh ein tzarich l'keira. Even though this mavei doesn't need a keira, it doesn't need a beam, sharei yesh le'dal mechitzas, because it has four walls. This mavei has no need for the beam, because this mavei already has four walls, and Tosfos explains how it has four walls. Shah pesach va'adelis b'revius, for the doorway and the door are on the fourth side. The fourth side of this mavei is not completely open. There's a whole door, a door frame over there with a door. So even when the door is open, it serves as a fourth wall. So why do we say pi tikra yard v'seisim, the edge goes down and closes off? There's no need for this kaira here. Says Tosfos, mikol mokim kevin sheru'uy lahater mavei. Nevertheless, since it's fitting to permit the mavei, if the mavei would need it, mitztaref yachad. The way we're going to translate it over here is it combines together. We'll combine together these two areas, the mavei and the doorstep with the beam, that it should go down and close off. So what Tosfos is saying here is that even though this actual mavei does not require and does not need to be made mutter to carrying it through the kaira, nevertheless, since the kaira is effective in making it mutter to carry in a mavei, it'll work over here to go down and close off. Now Tosfos adds a very important point over here where he argues with Rashi, and that is v'have ki'ilu mekaira dalet tvachim, and it's as if it's roofed 4 tvachim. Rashi said that when it goes down and closes off, only under the beam, only that part of the doorstep under the beam is a Rosh Hashanah. However, the Marshal learns over here in Tosfos that the entire doorstep is considered a Rosh Hashanah, and he says here v'have ki'ilu mekaira dalet tvachim, as if the whole 4 tvachim, it's referring to the doorstep, has a roof over it, and the whole doorstep is a Rosh Hashanah. And just briefly, the Ritva gives an explanation for this, that we look at the doorstep as one entity. So here Tosfos explains to us why it works by a mavei. Now, why not by a house and a yard? But by the doorstep of a yard and house. Since the kaira isn't fit to permit there. When a house or a yard need a way to fix carrying them. For example, if one of their walls collapsed, there's two ways to do it. One is through pasim, which would be a 4 tefachim wide board placed on one side of the collapsed wall, or through a lechi on each side. A kaira will not accomplish to make it mutter to carry in them. So avabaskufas by chatzar bayis, but by the doorstep of a yard and house. Since the kaira isn't fit to permit there, we don't use a kaira. So afilu pesach basuach have kalachutz. Even when the door is open, it's like the outside. Hoyel ve'ena makura elach elach, since only half is roofed. Even when the door is open, the kaira is not going to go down and close off. It's not a 4 tefachim wide kaira. It's not servicing an area that's going to be turned into a rishus hayachid, and it has no place to be by a bayis and a chatzar. It's not going to go down and close off, and therefore, even when the doors open, it'll be like the outside. It won't be treated like a rishus hayachid, and that's why we could only be referring to a mavli. Now, why does it have to be that only half roofed? So says Tosfos. That's the next thing he explains. And he specifically chose here as a case that half is roofed. And the reason is the bekula mekira afilu nol kolifnim, for when it's entirely roofed, even when it's locked, it's like the inside. If the whole doorstep is roofed, then not only when the doors open do we say pi tikar yard v'seisim, it goes down and closes off and makes the doorstep like the inside. Even when the door is locked, we'll say pi tikar yard v'seisim, and the whole doorstep will be a rishus hayachid. And the reason is the stam skufa sheitecha pesach rechava dalet, for a regular doorstep, which is in the doorway, is 4 tefachim wide. A typical doorstep is 4 tefachim wide, and therefore, if the whole thing has a roof, it's now servicing an area that could turn into a rishus hayachid, because a rishus hayachid is 4 by 4, so the edge would go down and close off. Now Tosfos is going to address a question on what he just said, that a regular doorstep is 4 tefachim wide. Even though he established the doorstep that the Tanakama was referring to by when it's not 4 tefachim wide. The first case of the doorstep in the Brisa is a doorstep that's a mokem p'tur, and a person can carry from it to the rishus hayachid, a person can carry from it to the rishus harabim. And we explained it's a case that it's a mokem p'tur, and in order to qualify as a mokem p'tur, it has to be that it's less than 4 by 4 tefachim wide. So how can we say a regular doorstep is 4 tefachim wide? It says Tosfos, Hasam Mayri by Medis Chutz Lo Evia Pesach. There it's referring to when it's standing outside of the thickness of the doorway. This is not a typical doorstep that's in the doorway. It's outside of the doorway. So that's the second part of Tosfos, where he explains why it has to be that it's only partially roofed and not fully roofed, because only when it's partially roofed will we say when the door is open, it goes down and closes off, but when it's locked, it doesn't go down and close off. However, if it's fully roofed, it always goes down and closes off. So the first part of Tosfos is only by a mavri will it go down and close off when the door is open, but not when it's locked. By a bayis and chatzar, it will never go down and close off. And the second part of Tosfos says that only when it's partially roofed, when the door is open, it goes down and closes off, and when it's locked, it doesn't go down and closes off. But if it's fully roofed, it will always go down and close off. And now for the last part, why does it have to be that the roofed part is the inside of the doorstep? And specifically when its roofing is towards the inside, will we say when the door is open, it goes down and closes off, but when it's locked, it doesn't go down and close off. But if it's towards the outside, even when it's locked, it's like the inside. Even when the door is locked, the doorstep will be a rishus hayachid, because it will go down and close off. If the roofing is on the outer part of the doorstep, then it always goes down and closes off. When the door is open, it'll go down and close off, and when the door is locked, it will go down and close off. And the reason is the kasavar Rav chudei hachitzin yayud v'seisim kedamasik perikam of the Eruvin. For Rav holds the outside edge goes down and closes off, like it concludes in the first parak of Eruvin. Rav holds, and this is an answer by Rav Yehuda Rav, that if the beam is on the outside of the doorstep, it'll go down and close off. And the reason is, since we look at the beam, it's on the outside of the doorstep. The doorstep is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, so now it's servicing an area that could qualify as a rishus hayachid. It'll go down and close off. So that's why it has to be speaking specifically about a mavli. It has to be specifically half roofed. It has to be specifically the inner half. And now Tosfos points out one last thing, and that is that really the Gemara could have given a little bit of a different answer and it would fit just as well. So he's just pointing out that there's another answer that could have been given, a little bit of a change, and it would work just as well. And that is v'hu adin da'avamatzi leminkat tefach echad mekayra v'keiruya be'emsa. And the same is so that he could have chosen a case that one tefach is roofed and its roofing is in its middle. It could have been a kaira instead of on the inner edge. We said it can't be on the outer edge, but it could be in middle. What's the condition? So long that it would be less than 4 tefachim from its outer edge. Shall oisa tefach of that tefach adadelas till the door. The only thing is, as long as between the outer edge of this tefach to the door is less than 4 tefachim, it'll work. Because then if the door is open, so since it's open to a mavi, it goes down and closes off. And if it's locked, since there's less than 4 tefachim, it's not an area that it would turn into a rishus hayachid, it doesn't go down and close off. So as long as that's in place, that it's less than 4 tefachim, it will also work. So just to summarize Tosfos, he explained to us why it has to be specifically a mavi, because only then when the door is open, it'll go down and close off. By a bayis and chatzar, if the door is open, it will not go down and close off. Only if the roof is over part of it, And the inner part, what we say when the door is open, it goes down and closes off. But if it's locked, it does not. However, if the whole thing is roofed, or even if the outer part is roofed, even when the door is locked, it'll go down and close off. And the last part of Tosfos, he just mentioned, the Gemara could have given a slightly different answer. We just gave our answer instead of that one, but that other answer is just as good.